Good morning, everyone, and welcome to NPU Live. I'm Keri Rodriguez.
And I'm Tim Langen.
It is Wednesday. It is May 13th, 2020. We have to start off with that reminder every morning.
Well, you know why I know it's May 13th?
How do you know?
Because it's Dora Aguilar's birthday.
That's right.
That's right.
Our beautiful friend, one of the hosts of NPU Live in Espanol.
That's right.
Which you can view every single day at noontime. Yeah, on
That's
this
right.
that channel. It's her birthday today.
That's right. So Wednesday through Friday, Dora's on there.
That's right. And Dora, you know what? We're going to make this a special day for Dora. Dora's had a tough couple of weeks. Even though she's constantly in service of her family and her community, doing this incredible broadcast nationwide, reaching over 1 million families all over the place. It's crazy how many folks interact with us. But Dora's been through some tough times the last couple of weeks. She lost her father to COVID-19. It's been a tough struggle, but she is a woman of faith. And she is a strong woman. She's an incredible woman, the heart of her family.
Yeah,
so
she's pretty amazing.
We say happy birthday to you, Dora. We love you so much. And I'm also a little biased. You know, she's also married to NPU parent number one.
That's right.
Rodolfo.
That's right.
Who we love very dearly. So.
And then there's Danny.
Yeah,
then there's Danny's super producer. He's okay.
Yeah, Danny actually makes sure this broadcast gets up on.
I guess so. I mean, someone has to get up early for this stuff.
That's right.
I mean, look at my hair. My hair's sticking up.
Oh,
you can get rid of that.
Yeah, we got to be careful with how you look on this broadcast because you never know who could be taking.
Someone could be taking a screenshot, putting on his blog,
putting it on the front page of the 74. Tim.
I don't want to say that. You know, they don't want to go there, but you know.
You never know.
Finally check that off my bucket list there.
That's right.
Front page of the 74.
Over here.
That's right.
Just what he needed. Because he's not going to be able to fit his head in this living room much longer.
That's right. Seriously.
That's okay. It's a beautiful sunny day.
It's a beautiful day.
Here in Boston, Massachusetts. But we'll be connecting with our friends in California.
I can't wait.
Preston from Rocketship.
That's right.
We actually went out to visit him, but the event was canceled. We still had fun in San Francisco.
Oh, we had a blast
with our friends at Innovate and Go Public Schools.
That's right.
But COVID-19 kind of interrupted our plan, but we get to connect with him today.
It's our last big trip.
That's right. It was we walked across the Golden Gate Bridge.
That's right.
Yeah, back in.
Saw Patti Smith at the Fillmore back in the day.
With hundreds of other people crammed
into a small place. And
that seems so risky. You know,
what
also seems risky is I saw this meme earlier today talking about remembering the old days when you used to blow candles out across a birthday cake. Speaking of birthdays,
that's a good point.
Seems a little dicey. Everything seems dicey.
It's dicey right now.
That's right.
Just stop breathing on people's birthday cakes.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Stop doing that.
Anyway, glad to have you with us this morning. A lot to get to. Again, some wonderful guests. We'll be checking in with our dear friend Mira Brown from Prepared Parents. And if you haven't done so, go right now, preparedforsuccess.org. You can get Mira's tips in your email. So you're prepared for this broadcast and for our discussion every morning, as you should be.
There are two simple things people can do today. One is go sign up for preparedforsuccess.org. And the second thing is, if you're Danny Aguilar, get up, hug your mom, say I love you, and say happy birthday.
That's right. There's one other person we want to send our congratulations to, who is a member of the National Parents Council, Nehemiah Frank, who is the publisher of the Black Wall Street Times in Tulsa, Oklahoma. You know, but his publication reaching nationally. Speaking of 1 million views, he just reached 1 million views yesterday.
He did.
With the Black Wall Street Times.
That's right. Proud of him.
So proud of him. What an extraordinary publication, really bringing life to so many important stories there. He is such an incredible part of our National Parents Council, the governing body of the National Parents Union. And we're so proud of him and what he's been able to build there. It's a must read for me every single day. So if you haven't checked it out, go and check out the Black Wall Street Times. Nehemiah featured often in Time magazine for his commentary, and you can get it every single day.
He's a smart guy.
He is. He's a smart guy, and we love him. So filled with love this morning for all of our folks from the National.
That's right. A lot of love out there today. And we need it. COVID cases right now are at 1.4 million with 83,000 deaths, just over 83,000 deaths right now in the U.S. Again, number one in the world right now for deaths.
Dr. Fauci yesterday testifying before a Senate committee. Little craziness yesterday.
A little bit.
Yeah. It remains just mystifying to me that this is a partisan issue, but You know me, I like to hear it straight from the tap. Dr. Fauci,
You do, right from the
I gotta
tap.
get it right from the tap. And so having him just, answering the questions of senators made me feel a little bit better and worse at the same time, because it completely contradicts all of the guidance we're getting from the White House. So, our philosophy on this program: in Fauci we trust. We follow President Governor Cuomo.
That's right.
President Governor Gavin Newsom, and science. So
that's right.
Keep your nose and mouth covered up and
stay away from me.
Stay at home.
That's
so
right.
That's kind of what we're going with. But he did have some important updates. I know I'm jumping around.
No, you're great. No, you're exactly what we're going to talk about here. He had some very important updates, specifically around children and their susceptibility to this virus. He says, don't think that they're immune to this. They're absolutely not. And cases are going up while at a small pace. They are happening.
Folks, we want to remind you, this, again, we've had this conversation with so many different people, the pediatricians, the experts we've had on this broadcast. This is an evolving situation. We don't know everything about this virus and how it presents itself. We got to stay on top of the CDC and medical experts. And when we first started, there was this notion that if you're young, or relatively young, in the case of us,
that's right.
we are not susceptible to COVID-19. We might be carriers, but we're not really going to be impacted. That's not true, friends. Nope. We have found that the evidence tells us that there are some possible linkages to strokes in folks
that's right.
Our age. Really stunning, devastating effects of COVID-19 not presenting in the ways that you would see traditionally, with some different symptoms. And so we've got to remain ever vigilant. And we're hearing more about that with children.
Right here in Massachusetts, there are 5 children right now in Boston Children's Hospital. There are 2 patients in Kentucky that are being hospitalized right now. And 3 New York youths died last week of what's being called pediatric multi-system inflammatory syndrome, potentially associated with COVID-19. And what that is, that has a list of symptoms of persistent fever, inflammation, and poor function in multiple organs. So again, these are very, very young children that this is happening to.
Bad news. And so COVID-19 potentially presenting in different ways, in different age groups, different impacts. Frankly, we just don't know a lot about this virus. We're starting to learn about it. We don't even know if once you test positive and you recover, if you can get it again.
Right.
Folks being tested for antibodies. So again, the smart money is on making sure that you pay attention to what the best guidance is from the CDC,
right.
From your doctor, from your pediatrician, from your governor, and just being cautious. Better to err on the side of caution, right. to approach this very slowly than to jump into this. And that's another thing that Dr. Fauci was actually talking about yesterday.
Yeah, we've heard the soundbite over the last couple of days saying that there'll be unnecessary death and harm if we rush into this, and that schools and colleges should not expect a vaccine in time for school right now. There's also lagging testing, which is a big part of opening up society again. They just don't have enough tests right now to test the kids.
Yeah, and it was interesting. I was on a call with some, fancy education folks yesterday, because, we get invited to some fancy stuff. So I'm sitting there and I'm watching a presentation. It was actually about college and, what's happening with post-secondary education, as they call it. Fancy education. Excuse me. But talking about college kids and what is it going to take for colleges to reopen. Obviously, very, concerning for parents.
Yep.
A lot of us, frankly, are paying for college, paying for dorm rooms, not getting the money back. That is not cool.
Nope.
But it was interesting, just talking about how colleges, particularly in California, we can ask Preston about this, saying it would cost about $25 million a week to do COVID-19 testing because they want to test everyone. Right. And how important that is and how critical. We know this, right? We know testing and tracking is really important. And then the conversation pivoted back to K through 12 education, and we dropped all talk of testing. Seems very weird to me. And again, why it's so important to have parents and community at the table to hold folks accountable, because, I think that we have a lot of well-intentioned folks in the education policy space, but they don't always, they don't always have the comprehensive view that and the lens that parents have. And that is why As a result of our poll that told us, our national poll that came out last week, another one coming out in a couple of days.
Can't wait.
Because we're on it. We're asking lots of questions. You know us. We got lots of questions of families. So even more data coming at you. But last week we did release the fact that the results of our poll talking about by a 2-to-1 margin, parents not ready to send their kids back until we have solid plans for how we're going to address health and safety in schools. And we have a task force. I love having a task force because they are coming up with a family bill of rights that we're going to be releasing to every state chief in all 50 states, to Betsy DeVos. Everybody's going to be hearing from the National Parents Union about our list of concerns, our questions, and frankly, our demands for what we expect. It's lovely that you're deciding to open your school. Whether or not we decide to send our children back, totally separate thing.
That's
totally
right.
Separate thing. And it's been funny in this space, and you and I have been kind of laughing about it, but again, sometimes we get some fancy folks asking us for some advice on how to talk to parents.
Yes, we do.
What we should say. So we did get that letter sent to us the other. I can't stop laughing about it. God bless this Secretary of Education who sent me a letter saying, "Keri, what do you think about this?" And with a letter thanking me for taking care of my children.
Yeah.
Which is
Thanks for doing that.
Thank you so much for taking care of yourself and your kids in this moment.
Yeah.
As if the only reason I had children was so that I could.
Right. And thanks, I won't take care of myself. Thank you. And I'll take care of my kids.
Education.
Yeah.
So like what?
We were talking yesterday. I feel like we're so anxious. It's like we're anxious to open up our Christmas presents early.
Yeah.
And
we want to know so bad. We want to open everything up so bad.
If my kids are going to go to school, I don't want to spend 180 days next year worrying every day whether or not my kid is going to come home, if he's going to get sick, if he's going to come back asymptomatic and get other people in the house sick, or if he's going to get potentially a fatal virus. That's not how I want to live, and that's not the experience I want my kids to have in school.
That's right. So we're directing everybody. When you see this, I'm teasing here. This Bill of Rights that's coming out. Working closely with the guidelines suggested by the American Academy of Pediatrics. We are becoming experts on ventilation systems and our demands around what ventilation in buildings looks like, because we've had to ask some folks like what does that look like in a public building? Again, you're asking us to send our babies into a public building.
That's right.
So parents have had to get up to speed on ventilation systems.
Yes, we have.
And also the CDC guidelines for disinfection, including the EPA's list and requirements for disinfection. Did you know about that? Well,
we'll
the
share with
National
you.
Parents Union, we're assembled this team of titans, led by some folks actually in California who
That's
are
right.
helping us think through this stuff, but a comprehensive list of, this is what we're expecting to see from schools if we're going to have our children go back into your buildings. So we got questions. We're going to be demanding some answers and figuring out all of this stuff, masks, hand sanitation systems, and hey, in some of our traditional public schools, even here in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, do you have running water and does the bathroom work? Because that's a thing. That's a thing. Anyway, so a lot to get to. Dr. Fauci saying, slow down. I know everybody's getting anxious, but let's not put the cart ahead of the horse here.
That's right. Well, we have a busy week as well. Again, don't forget this week, Friday is the International Day of the Families, and the National Parents Union will be partnering with Parents Forum for broadcast throughout the day in English, Spanish, French, Mandarin, and Arabic. So many languages.
Every time zone, every continent.
That's right. Except Antarctica.
That's right.
Maybe,
actually,
I don't know.
By the way, I was reading an article, no COVID-19 in Antarctica, because I guess the cruise ships that would have infected the place stopped before, it actually made it.
I'm not going there anyway. Too cold. I don't do the cold. But we're going to do 5 30-minute broadcasts on Friday, the International Day of the Families, and we're so excited to be doing that. Also, too, the next day on Saturday, May 16th, don't forget at 8 p.m., and we'll be putting up the broadcast details hopefully today or tomorrow for Graduate Together 2020. That's a wonderful partnering with the XQ Institute. It's going to focus on high school students as well as their teachers and their supportive families that have helped them get through this difficult time.
This is the Barack Obama commencement.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Love to partner with the folks at the XQ Institute and the LeBron James Foundation to make sure that everybody can see that. It's also going to be up on, is it CBS?
I believe CBS is the main carrier, but I'll be getting those details.
Yeah, and we'll make sure you're informed. You don't want to miss this. This is going to be exciting.
Absolutely. You're going to want to jump on graduatetogether2020.com. That's graduatetogether2020.com. You can submit a brief commencement message for your high school seniors and get a chance to win $5,000. You can also submit photos for the virtual National High School Yearbook. And also, too, if you'd like to share that, the hashtag is #GraduateTogether.
Love it.
That's great. It's a busy week.
Very busy week, and a busy broadcast day as well, because today, of course, we start the day off in English at 9 a.m. But again, noontime, NPU Live in Espanol, 2 o'clock, our special programming for families with special needs with Christina Laster, managing day to day from California. And then our checkout at 9 o'clock. With Marisol Rarucha, who does our social emotional checkout for parents. We take a minute.
Well, that's on a slow day.
That's
Keri.
on a slow day. What
You
else
gotta forget too. Well, on Thursdays we have Dad to Dad.
Well, that is
with
true.
Tim, Jose, John, and Mike.
I don't want to get people too excited.
Michael, what would Michael Scott do?
That's right. Dad to Dad, very special
4
program
p.m.
that we have on
also, a parent voice with Bernita is
live from
well.
Detroit.
Live from Detroit. Don't forget the Parent Effect new show starting tonight at 6 p.m. with Kelly Williams-Ballar. We're going to have that on there as well.
If coming to you from Ohio, Kelly Williams-Ballar, an extraordinary parent leader there. She is like, she is a pioneer of parent activism.
Yes, she is.
She's a wonderful person.
And I don't have the time right in front of me, but I can't wait to jump on the Vivek Duke show.
That's right. Speak Your Truth.
That's right.
Coming
Speak that
live
truth.
From New York.
So a busy day.
Yeah.
Busy day, busy week.
She's extraordinary. And John Dukes, too. I mean, the two of them, an extraordinary story. She is a New York public school teacher. He is a formerly incarcerated person who is now an activist.
One of my favorite people.
He
made my week last week.
He was on Dad to Dad last week talking about dad issues. So lots. You don't even need to click off the National Parents Union Facebook page, because we
just leave it up.
We got you right here.
Leave it up.
Great. Well,
okay.
Thanks so much, Tim. We appreciate it. And now we turn our attention to Texas, and we welcome Mira Brown coming to us live from Austin, Texas, from Prepared Parents. You can visit her website, preparedforsuccess.org. Her tips in the morning, keeping us focused and sane as we start the day. Mira, how's it going? Are you still under construction, or what is the status?
We had our oven and our refrigerator break at the same time, and I was like, unacceptable. We have kids at home. We're not leaving.
Or delivery.
And so it was, my husband got the new fridge he's wanted for a long time now. It's the small things, and but they came to deliver, and the poor guys who work for this delivery company, which I will leave unnamed, I probably should name it, they didn't have masks. And we asked them, do you mind putting on your mask? Our company hasn't given them to us, and they're back ordered and we don't have any. So we're like, hold on. So we went and got them the cloth masks that my mother-in-law and sister-in-law had made. And we're like, these are now yours. Please, please, please use them. You just need to wash them every day. But I felt these guys are, they're out and about, and they're for their own safety and the safety of others. So anyway, that was.
I mean, that's crazy
that their company doesn't provide them.
That's sad. But I have one important question, Mira.
Yes.
Because I would like to know what people eat. What did you have delivered? You don't have to give me the name of the company. What did you actually eat?
Oh, no, it was just they were delivering the refrigerator.
The refrigerator. I'm sorry. Yeah. Clearly, I'm hungry.
He is hungry.
We don't actually do food. We haven't done food delivery.
No. Pizza?
Actually, that's not fair. You're right. We have done pizza delivery, and that's not, sorry, let me reframe. I'm totally lying. I just totally forgot. We've done Cheesecake Factory. It was my neighbors, my brother next door is their family's favorite. And I don't complain, because I get the big Oreo cheesecake and I sit there happily and eat all of it. I always go and be like, I'm just gonna have a bite, and then it's gone.
That is so funny. I got to tell you, Tim spoiled us on Mother's Day. We had a really, really fancy delivery, Le Petit Robert, really super, super fancy.
I delivered French.
Wellington, and his mom had Chilean sea bass.
That's right.
And it was a beautiful presentation that we ate Patty Langen's kitchen table.
That's
and
right.
it was really good. We had an opera cake.
Wow.
Macaroon.
Nice job, Tim.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Right.
You can talk to Ben next time.
Tim knows how to take care of business and take care of the ladies in his life. So he did a great job. It was awesome. But
You have it on video.
yes, the fanciest delivery I've ever had ever. It was really
That's right.
next level.
So it's what I do.
Little French.
It's what I do.
French dinner.
But Mira, what can we do this week? What else can I do so well to for this week?
I wanted to talk about, actually, I wanted to answer a question it was a week or so ago, and one of your parents, one of your viewers had written into the comments, we were doing a tip on emotions and how to handle emotions. And she'd written in a comment that has sort of been like in the back of my mind that I've been wanting to answer. She said she had a 7th grader who was a perfectionist and suffers from anxiety, and can't go to bed until all the schoolwork is done. She works all day long, and she just really wanted help. And so that one's been sitting, and I really wanted to actually answer that question for her. So today, and it's like everything, quite fascinating when you dig into the science and the research and things like that. So today it is about how do we help our kids and ourselves who are perfectionists. And I wanted to start with what perfectionism actually is, because I had a lot of misconceptions on this front going into it. And then explain sort of 4 steps that you can take to help yourself if you are one. I am one, apparently. Good to know as I was doing the research. Keri's raising her hand. I grew up with one in my household, my mom. And doing this was like, oh my gosh, I wish I'd known this when I was like a teenager. And so maybe this will hit home a little, Keri. But what is perfectionism? And so the first thing to understand for this mom and all parents out there is that it's an attempt to control circumstances that feel uncomfortable, ultimately, right? And that control essentially is what is sort of like a self-relief, right? Or short-term relief, I should say. And it's motivated by a very intense fear of failure. Mm-hmm. Keri's like, yep.
All of this makes sense, right? I mean, those of us who, and I've been very public about, my background, I'm a former foster kid. I kind of grew up in chaos. It was not a great situation. So how does that manifest itself? I like to be able to control my little universe to make sure nothing goes wrong, because I don't want anybody to feel like they're not loved or they don't have what they need or what they want, or they don't feel cared for, all of those things. So even, I have very high standards, and in that all, thank God for therapy, because I'm trying to process all of those things, but you got to own it. I understand where it comes from. It doesn't make it easy to deprogram yourself, though.
No. And to be fair, right, perfectionism isn't good or bad. Like everything we talk about, that there isn't a good or bad. And I think that that's what's really important. I think it's all how you harness it, right? And how you use it in your life. And that's what we're trying to help in every conversation we've had for the last 40 days, however many days that we've talked to each other. It's all in how we help our kids to harness what's inside themselves and use it, right, to their benefit and giving them their tools. So I want to be super clear going into this. I'm not saying perfectionism is bad, but when not harnessed or not being self-aware about it, it can cause a ton of stress and anxiety. I mean, you talk to parents who kids, you hear these who have, trouble sleeping, stomach aches. I mean, it really manifests itself in multiple ways. And deep down, perfectionism, because of that motivation factor, does come from not feeling good enough or a need to be accepted, putting yourself down a lot, right? And so it really does kick in around adolescence, but I also, and I've been thinking about my son in this way, and some friends in California, who it can start really early, and it can look in early years, and it can look a lot like afraid to answer a question because they might get it wrong, or not following instructions correctly, and then being like really, like kind of harping on themselves, very things that seem harmless that ultimately could be, let's, again, to be fair, but a lot of that again is this like fear of motivation, right? Of that fear of failure and such. So what do we do? And there's a couple of different things that the research and the science says that we can do and how we can help our kids. The first is actually understanding the root cause. And interestingly, there are, like everything else, different flavors of perfectionism. And I want to talk about two that I think will be most helpful to parents. And the reason why is because if we can understand where it's coming from, the motivation underneath it, it will help us connect with our kids, right? Because then you just sort of are having an emotional response to something that you just personally, especially if you're not a perfectionist, right? And you have your child who won't stop working or whatever it might be, and you just have constant emotional reactions, and you start doing this a lot. And so there's quickly two types. There's what they call self-oriented, and so what that really means is that they hold themselves to a very high standard, but it's motivated without external pressures, right? So it's not motivated, which is what a socially prescribed perfection is, right? So that one is someone who's motivated by peer pressure, what friends are doing. Maybe it's parents putting expectations, not even realizing it, or realizing it, putting, really hard and high expectations on their kids. So there's sort of these two types, and understanding where your child is within those and what's motivating it, like I said, can make sitting down and having conversations, right, with your kid to help them through that process just a little bit easier, because you sort of know which direction to go in the conversation.
It's to me because I'm thinking about my baby, my youngest, who is just like me. And he is one of those, and I'm identifying with, type 2, as you're saying, like external pressure on me to be perfect. There's no external pressure on him to be perfect. And it's very funny, the conversations I have to have with him about, like, because he gets very frustrated if things aren't perfect and they don't go as planned, and people don't meet his expectations, and he's very tough on himself, and he's tough on his brothers. He's just tough, and when he doesn't meet his own expectations, it manifests in different ways.
Yep.
Yeah, he gets angry. Or he cries and he beats himself up, like all of these things. And I've had to have, and let's see if this is the right thing to do, but I've had to have conversations with him saying, baby, it's okay. Like, you don't have to do it perfect. This is what learning is about. This is how you start to know things, is you make a mistake, and you know what, you can't, the other thing is, like, you can't control other people and what they do, and if they make mistakes, but man, he's tough. And I feel, he comes by it honestly, gets it from mommy.
As we say, yeah.
That internal mind of his, like, he's got a big old baseball bat. He'll beat himself up over that, like, nobody's chasing him down for. It's crazy.
Well, totally. And what I think is interesting about that is it's sort of, it's helping our kids understand sort of who their best self is, and understand the difference between striving for excellence and striving for perfection, right? Striving for excellence is literally is doing really hard work that we've talked about early on. I'm still doing it as I near 40, like, of who am I? What do I act like? What do I care about? What makes me, get up every single morning? What motive, what's important to me? And then actually aligning my actions to that, versus, as you were saying, right, striving for this perfection that is sort of theoretical in so many ways, right? And so having that conversation of with your kids about, like, who, and really helping them realize, like, who are they? Who is their best self? And I think you added that second part, and this is really hard, is that being your best self doesn't always mean you're going to have the best outcome. And that is the hard, right? You're not always going to succeed. And to your point, that's okay, is the hardest thing for kids and perfectionists to understand. And for perfectionists, actually failing is possibly the not in big ways, right? There's productive failure. We've had these, right? But like understanding that feeling, how to persevere and overcome that setback is even more important for those who are perfectionists, because life, like you're not going to be like, life isn't perfect, as we all know. It's messy, and having that skill set is so important. And having the ability, sort of the mindset, right, to know like I can overcome a setback. There is light at the end of the tunnel. There's something more, right, I can do. I have other tools in my tool belt that can help me, right, when something doesn't work out. Like all of that is about understanding who I am, you know, to your point. Yeah.
Like, you know, forget the kids. I'm getting a lot of out of this. This makes me think of a conversation we were having about work yesterday, where I was all up in my feelings, being my little perfectionist self, because some work project didn't turn out, you know, the fantastic way that I had envisioned in my mind. And so the black clouds started rolling in. I was like, oh my God, this is terrible. And this one over here had to be like, really? Because the 95 other things that you've been working on seem to come out pretty great. Could you get over yourself a little bit? Like, let's put this in perspective.
Small wins.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It's
small wins. That's what you're also getting at, right? So that is, I'll skip over one and get to that one, because I think that's super important. But that is, it's what we've talked about with regards to confidence. If you think about where perfectionism comes from, there is often an inherent lack in confidence, right? You're not good enough, right? And so how do you seek being good enough? You seek it out by doing all of these things, right? Really, really well. And instead, with our kids and with ourselves, you and I are very similar, with ourselves, recognizing, like praising, we talked about it, right? Like praising the effort. And recognizing the small wins actually helps our, like, motivate us, right, to continue making progress towards something, right? And so instead of being like, you got a straight A, to a perfectionist is like, they could have killed themselves getting, right, stay up all night getting that straight A, but that doesn't actually help them overcome that fear of failure and things like that. And so
we're not supposed to do that anyway. You taught us that, Mira. We're not supposed to praise the A. We're supposed to praise the process and the effort. Come on, we're
congratulations, but I'm so happy, and think about all you did, right, to get to that A, right? And so because when I was a kid, let's be clear, and the A's did not come easily to me, and it was a big deal, right? And so as a kid, you probably wanted to, but like, it's praising the effort getting there. And the very last one, I would say is, and this one is really interesting, and I would be super curious, Keri, to see if you fall into this, but you can help your kid, and this gets to the parent also, you can help your kid cut some of the stress by actually helping them set goals and make plans. And here's the interesting, and I honestly didn't realize this, is that in that quest for perfection, perfectionists have a really hard time managing their own time. And they have a really hard time focusing on what's most important, because they're overwhelmed, because everything is really important, right? Everything has to be done to a super high standard. So what does that look like? That can look like procrastination, and that can look like kids who give up or avoid taking risks because they don't want to fail, and they're holding themselves back, right? And so you have sort of these two things. And again, this is about really like trying to really deeply help your kid understand this about themselves. And so sort of back to the parent, I don't want to project. I don't know her daughter. I can't tell her, you know, why is her daughter studying all day and staying up till 9 p.m. at night. But what they can do is think about a better or a more disciplined process, right? And so we've talked about this in the past around the self-directed learning cycle and learning how to set goals, right? It's being really consistent and diligent and helping your kids say, like, you know, what do I need to do today? What is my goal? Help me make the plan. Like, let me go and do it. Let me check in with you when I need some help, right? And you can set ambitious goals, but achievable goals, right? And having that process, that cycle that you follow through, can be a tool that can be really helpful to your kids who are staying up all night, staying up late, working all day, but feeling like they're not making any progress. It could be because they're spinning, right? They could be spinning all day too, because they don't have sort of those executive function skills or those sort of study skills or whatever you want to call them, to know what to focus on. And so they're trying to do everything versus being like, this is what I need to do today. This is what success can look like. Here's my goal. Here's a realistic plan to hit that goal, right? And now I'm gonna actually go and do it. And I know, mom or dad or what sibling or whoever it might be is gonna be there to support me because this is what I'm saying my goal is.
Interesting when you say that. I think I started off being a procrastinator, and it would make me so filled with anxiety because everything feels urgent, everything feels important, everything gets the same level of intensity. I used to be like a master procrastinator, and I think I had to like beat that out of me because it was so overwhelming. I'd have everything at the last minute. So now I feel like I'm no longer a procrastinator, but I still have that urgency about everything. I still feel the weight, and I see how that translates to my kids. And so I try to, because, our kids are watching everything we do.
Everything we do.
We made these people, so you know where the buttons are, right?
Yes.
And so what I'm trying to do, like, especially for David, is like, not get them into that cycle of procrastination, saying, okay, if we have a project to do, project is like a classic thing. I can remember when I was a little kid, and I didn't have a lot of, parental guidance. So I would let things go to the last minute. It'd be spinning in my head. I have an idea of a science project or a report or whatever it was. And I'd have all these great ideas and like be able to do the work, but I'd wait till the very last minute and then bang through it and, beat myself up. Well, this could have been so much better.
Much better.
Give myself more time. So I try with my kids to be a little preemptive there and be like, okay, we know that this is the project. We're going to give ourselves the time. We're going to do it in pieces because I know that the wheels are already spinning because I made those wheels and I figured out how that they work a little bit.
Yep.
And I'm trying to be preemptive, but it's interesting how that translates. Like it's even, outside of work, and personal stuff, like I like to plan really far in advance. Like I kind of overcompensate for that because I'm a master procrastinator. Left to my own like devices, my natural state is to
yeah.
Interesting.
And there are these disciplined, if you want to say, right, like processes that schools use that really successful people like, and simply to your point, helping our kids understand certainly all those things we just talked about, but literally, how do I set a really ambitious but doable goal? Like, let's start there, right? Like, I don't need to stay. I mean, God, I wish I'd had this like when I was in school, right? I don't need to stay up till 12, till midnight, or in this case, the parent whose kid's working all day, right? And potentially not even meeting their goals, and so. And then that leads right back into that really negative self-talk and that cycle, right? And so there are things we can do. There's much more, as always, sort of in the tip that you can go to at preparedforsuccess.org. And the last thing I would say is perfectionists, interestingly, this was all in the research, which I thought was great, is they need to have Let's not forget the fun. They need to take breaks. All our kids need breaks. All our kids need to play and have fun and laugh. But it's just, if not more important for perfectionists, because they're not going to do that for themselves. That's not going to meet their high standard, right? And in some cases. And so exactly.
It's really hard. If I'm not like totally aware, like that the screen does. So my therapist even said to me, he's like, Keri, you need to stop and just do something that's not productive at all. Like he had me play this stupid farm game on my phone to like, feed the crops and feed the cow. Yeah. It's not productive. It's a time suck. And frankly, it makes me very unsettled that I'm spending time doing something that is not producing something that, would be useful or perfect for somebody else. But he's like, you know what?
You need to do it. Yeah.
Just have fun. Yeah. And it's very hard. It's hard to stop. So,
yeah.
More in the tip. You can find it at preparedforsuccess.org. Mira, thank you for helping us navigate this crazy. Wow, that was a whole can of worms.
Tim stayed very quiet the whole time. It's like, I'm not commenting on this one.
Oh man, it helps, our parents, and it helps
us.
And it's,
well, you've helped a lot of people.
yeah,
I'm saying here, release
like
the stress, fund the F word. And you're right. If we can teach children to do this early in their lives, maybe you'll spare them from ending up with us.
That's right.
That's
Thank you.
You're gonna do it. Mira Brown, thank you so much.
Mira.
Austin, Texas. It was so fun to talk to Mira. Now we're going to flip it. He's coming to us from Redwood City, California. Our friend Preston Smith from Rocketship Public Schools.
I'm gonna go have some fun.
He's gonna go have some fun. I'm gonna talk to Preston. So excited to have him join us for the first time and talk about the great work that he's doing in California with Rocketship. But first, before we get to that, Preston, you got 2 babies. How are you doing as a dad? That's what we spill the tea. Are you making it through this quarantine in week 9? What's it looking like for you? Oh, we can't hear you. We got to take you off mute.
There we go. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
I was gonna say to start, I'm coming from San Jose, so proud San Jose. But no, I'm blessed. My kids are they're amazing. My wife is she's a warrior. She's been awesome helping out, and they're 9 and 11. One of them is a Rocketeer, so it's great. I get to be, I'm actually really intimately involved in her learning experience, and so yeah, it's been, they're a great age and they're great kids.
That's awesome. But we're going to press you a little deeper on that. Okay, we know she's a Rocketeer. We know, but the best plans cooked up, by heads of school and leaders of schools and superintendents. I've even talked to secretaries of education in the states and all of this stuff, and they tell me, you know what? It's not as easy as it looks when it's your own kid in your own living room at home. Have you ever had any challenges, Preston? Come on, be honest here. What's been tricky for you?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess to be really honest, Keri, I try to really keep perspective, right? So, have there been challenges? Of course, but honestly, my kids are really fantastic. And I've got food, I've got a job, I've got a safe home. So, I really just try to keep perspective of how blessed I am, and that really a lot of the kids we serve and families, that's not the case. So I guess for me, it's like, our problems are minor, and that's really not, I don't know, try to keep really deep perspective on that.
That's incredible. And you do extraordinary work with children across California. So tell us about Rocketship. You're speaking to a national audience, so folks in California know you well, and in many of the states in the West, but give us a little introduction about Rocketship and what you guys are all about.
Yeah, so we are an elementary focused public charter schools. We're in California in the Bay Area, in Milwaukee, Washington, D.C., and Nashville. And so we focus on low-income communities. I'm a kid who grew up in a low-income community and went to underperforming public schools, and got denied from colleges because of my zip code and schools. Got into college, but struggled initially. So I know about the achievement gap. I personally have watched it and experienced it. So, really motivated to have an impact for kids and families. I'm also really fortunate as a Teach for America teacher in San Jose, got to partner with PACT and learn directly about community organizing. So parents and organizing is something I'm really passionate about. And so that's a big part of our model. So we really focus at Rocketship on elementary, on personalized learning, which for us is how do we get the right content at the right level to you in the right way. So it can be tutor, teacher, independent, on a computer and off a computer. How do we really have a robust training program for our leaders and teachers? And then how do we partner with our parents to really create catalytic change far greater than us, especially as, I'm there right now. My daughter in San Jose, 5th grade is middle school. And so, choosing, where is she going to go in 5th grade? And that's been really powerful when our parents know what a great school is and they go and demand it from others. And I think it's really transformational, far beyond our impact for a city and a community.
Yeah, I want to dig into all of these pieces because I think they're critically important, and I think there's a bunch that folks across the country can learn from it, especially the approach around parent engagement. Frankly, I hate the word parent engagement because it leads to a lot of box checking, and engagement can mean a whole host of things, and frankly, a lot of it is just not good. It's typically engagement on the terms of the system. If you're a traditional district school parent like myself, and you are a survivor of public education, you have some ghosts in the classroom, you know what to expect. Okay, it's not a good scene, and there hasn't been a lot of restorative justice with parents like me to say, listen, we know, things have been bad. You can trust us. This is why you can trust us, and this is how we're going to show you can trust us. Because there's a lot of talk in the world of parent engagement, but when it comes to actual actions, there's not a lot of evidence that trust is being built. So I want to talk to you about that philosophy. We like Rocketship because, frankly, we've got a ton of members who are Rocketship parents and who have come to us from California in particular, and in the Bay Area. So we're familiar with you guys and how you really take seriously the input of parents. So talk to us about that was baked into your model, in your philosophy. A lot of folks, that's an afterthought. So walk us through the process of why that is and how you find it important.
Yeah, it makes me so proud, Keri. I'm so happy to hear about our parents and being part of the work you're creating and leading with the National Parents Union. And our parents are amazing. I think for me, you hear it said of parents are the first teacher, and I think it's very cliche and people can be really dismissive, but at Rocketship, it's something we really believe. I think for me, it really started with the work in the district when I was a district teacher and with PACT. And the first school we started, it was a small school. We started it with parents. It was myself and another teacher and 8 low-income Latino families. And we had this superintendent. We wrote a proposal and he let us start the school, right? And through that process, just really, I had before that started home visits, done a lot of work with parents. And just for me, what was always really clear is that if you have a strong partnership between the teacher or the school and parents, it's like a triangle, right? The student is that third leg. You can accomplish anything, right? But to you said it earlier, if you don't have trust between the teacher and the parent, or the system and the parent, it's just so difficult, and frankly, it gets really toxic. And so, yeah.
To us, it's so often, teachers, administrators, the system, a school makes really big decisions that impact the lives of our children and our families, and can be very disruptive or upsetting or not culturally competent, and just, well-intentioned but misguided. And it happens just to us, and with the expectation, you're going to do this. We've decided. And that can be to start, you think about how you start any friendship, any relationship, it doesn't feel like a peer-to-peer relationship. I'm a grown woman and this is my child.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this is what I'm going to do to you. From jump, the jump, we're not interested in that. And you can tell how this is going to go. So starting with that intentionality of saying, we're going to start a school together. This cake is not baked. We want to hear from you. And we're not just going to come to you with a plan where we've already decided what the ingredients are. Just from what are those ingredients, from that part of the conversation is important.
Well, and I say this to our team all the time, and we've said it to parents, right? Of we're honored to serve your child, right? You choose to bring your child here, right? So it is our job to partner with you. And to your point on from the jump, right? So when we open a new school, our parents help us name the school. Our parents help us pick the 5th core value of the school. They help select the enrichments. They help interview and give input on the school leaders and teachers. So, it's just, it's so cool when the community names the school and does all those things, right? It's truly their school. And I think for me, right, it's just this, you have to own that leaders and teachers are going to move on at certain points, but that community is going to be there. And it is their school, right? So the more deeply invested and the foundation is laid in partnership, that school is much more likely to thrive decades from now, right? Because they have complete ownership of that school. And so it's just, I think when you can truly partner with parents, it changes not just the outcomes for kids, but I think it really does create a long-term trajectory of success.
I gotta say, that's really brave, bold leadership. It seems very common sense, but common sense is not so common. I can't tell you how many conversations I've had with charter school leaders of CMOs, all kinds of folks, think, Keri, our parent engagement, it's just terrible. And why won't people engage with us? And I'll say, well, where are parents in your co-collaborative, co-creation process? Like, where are you inviting parents to be a part? And there's so much fear that parents aren't going to make the right decision or don't know enough. Like, do you really think you're going to invite a parent to the table and they're going to make a bad decision that's going to impact their kids? Half the time, I can't get charter school leaders. Like, I have a little test that I run on you folks, and I'm revealing secrets, but I test out the basic thing. I say, tell me about you got uniforms in your school. How do you pick those uniforms? Oh, well, we've decided that this is what we're going to do. We're going to go with the khaki pants, and it's going to be the blue. And I said, well, did you talk to your parents about that? Khaki pants are really tough to clean. Little boys in khaki pants, oof, that's tough. Did you put this out? Did you let the parents vote on that? Like, how did you incorporate just on something as basic as, what are our babies going to wear to school? And if you can't give parents a little bit of decision making, like, that's the test for me. You're not going to let them in on people, on policies, on founding principle, nothing, because it's that whole idea that we're coming in to save you. And frankly, we've seen a lot of white saviors. We've seen a lot of white. That whole vibe doesn't work. Like, you've got to do this collaboratively with community if you really want to have roots and do something that's not just transactional with our community, but something that's transformational. And that's got to be where we are for our kids, isn't it?
Yeah. No, and the irony of what you just said of like, well, our parents going to make the right choice, and they already chose to come to your school, right? So like, clearly I would hope you believe they've already made a good choice, right? So they are capable. So I just think, trusting parents and partnering with parents, and also just knowing it's a process, right? Every person is in a different place. And so, how do you kind of meet them where they are, but also just make it as welcoming and accepting as possible? Because I think also what you said too, Keri, really resonated with me, right? Is the baggage of public school system, right? And so, even as a principal, I've experienced, the parent comes in yelling and just loud and saying, I'm like, wait, like, I know in the previous environment, right, that was how you got attention, right? Like, you don't have to scream here, right? Like, I care, we'll help you, right? Like, just like, stop, like, let's talk, right? You don't have to scream anymore, right? Like, we'll partner with you.
Like, understanding that if you have a parent that is that upset, that's not something to be afraid of. Like, frankly, some of our parents here in Massachusetts, I remember when I first started Massachusetts Parents United, I was working with a principal who at the King Elementary School in Boston, who said, Keri, we can't get anybody to show up. Parent council's broken. We have these meetings, nobody comes. What's wrong with the parents? And find out that parents had been trespassed from the building because they'd come in and they were on fire. They were so upset. And that doesn't come that doesn't come from nowhere. And frankly, that's a mom that's afraid, that is desperately afraid that something bad is happening to her child. So that is coming from a deep place of trauma and hurt.
Yeah.
How do we, it's not even to say stop, it's to say, oh, I see you. And I can understand why you're so upset. Like, let's walk through this together because, you're afraid that your child's in trouble and I want to help you, figure this out. Let's figure this out. And that's the restorative justice piece comes into this. It's about, again, there is a reason. We have been given every reason not to trust public education, my friends. Unfortunately, you are put in the place of doing the hard work of restoring those relationships. But first, we got to acknowledge that they're important and we need them, which I think is a critical piece of what Rocketship does.
Well, and you just said a key word, relationships, right? It's really at the core of our model is like, how do you build that relationship? So a simple thing too, Keri, I'm always struck by, I live a couple blocks down our district school, and what's the first day of school? And who's your teacher? Well, you walk to the front office, and on the front office is a list of grade and names and teachers, and you go to that class, right? And just how impersonal that is, just how sort of like factory like that is, right? And there's no relationship, right?
I had my kids assigned to teachers. We had moved into a new public school district. And they just they literally looked at the list, which teacher had the shortest list, and they would slam my kids in there. And I had the audacity to ask, well, tell me about this teacher. This my oldest son who has special needs. I was like, well, tell me about her background. Like, does she have any background in art therapy? How long has she been teaching? And they looked at me as if I didn't have a right to have any information about who this person was who was going to be with my child all day long.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, and at Rocketship, two things we do, Keri, that I think are critical. In the summer, we do usually an event, usually a barbecue, but some sort of event before school has started where families and staff come together and the kids get to meet their teacher and they come and do some activity in a team building sort of activity together, right? So a way to meet your teacher far before the first day, so you're not going to a list. And then the other thing is our home visits, right? So going to a home and hearing a parent's story, right? Hearing your story, Keri, right? And why are you here? Why did you pick this school, right? What are you looking for? What should we know about your child? What should we know about you, right? And just the foundations of that relationship, right? If you build it, it's just so powerful, especially in the outcomes for our kids, but the long-term outcomes for our communities and schools. So I think we've rooted it in pretty deeply into Rocketship. And I agree with you. It's not just the checklist, it's really understanding the why and being really clear about the vision and the investment in that why, that this isn't a checklist. This is core to honoring our kids and families, but also just ensuring they get the best outcome and experience possible.
Well, let's pivot our conversation over to COVID-19 and what's happening there. Time is getting short, and I'm so enjoying this conversation. It's wonderful to be able to talk with you, Preston, today. But we've got to talk about the situation we're in right now. And I really want to dig into the fact that personalized learning and that assessment and what do kids really need. That's a lesson that you guys had learned and incorporated into your philosophy around Rocketship in pre-COVID times. And for me, and what I'm hearing from parents in our 200 affiliate organizations in all 50 states, what we're hearing is that our national poll that came out last week said that, by a margin of 2-1, parents do not want their children shoved back in the same box, in the same way of thinking. They want innovation. They want something new. They think that this is the time to grow and evolve. So quite clearly, parents are looking for something more. And the conversation we've been having with our leadership body and with our organizations is around what that looks like, and frankly, what our kids need. So I want to, really pick your brain around how we're going to determine that and what it's going to look like. Because personalized learning, I think, is going to be a key piece of we move forward, because our babies are going to come from all different environments, different levels of trauma, going through this. This is an unprecedented challenge, but it's also a time for opportunity. And we would love to see, and in the conversation that we've been having is around assessment and how we bring more parent input into assessment. We got a lot of data right now. We are the educators in our home. We know a lot about what our kids know right now, what they don't know, when they're learning, when they're not learning. Frankly, as a special education mom, I'm very comfortable with being asked for my input on my annual evaluation. And I don't understand why my other babies, who are general matriculating kids, aren't, I'm not being asked the same thing. So how are you guys thinking about that? Are you thinking about how do we actually see what kids need? Take us inside your mind about how you start to approach this, and where will parents be in the process?
Yeah, this is such a complex thing, Keri. It's how will we approach it? So I think to start, the safety and well-being of our kids and families is first and foremost. So in this crisis, I think a really critical thing we've done is a daily survey that our parents get texted and through Facebook and email. And in that survey, it's quick, it's about 90 seconds. 2 questions on kind of their learning from the previous day. So we've learned very quickly that we really have to help our parents understand how to access the different places to go and how to check on the completion and learning, right? And so I told my team, classroom management has been replaced by tech literacy, right? And not just for our kids, but our families. And so how do we really elevate that? But there's another part of the survey that, so we call it Care Core, and it's really asking families like, what do you need, right? What do you need more information on or help with? So food, safety, I don't feel safe in my home, or I need rent assistance. And so really assisting them there. And we have separate folks on our schools whose sole job is to then lean in and help our families access these local resources, right? So I would say like that's been critical, Keri, in that partnership, because this problem, this pandemic, is the inequities it's creating is massive. And our families we serve are on the front lines, either of losing their jobs or still being out there on the front lines, often with inadequate PPE, inadequate wages, and so trying to help them navigate all of this, and so they can also support their kids at home.
About tech literacy, because unfortunately we have seen a lot of folks just start whipping Chromebooks and hotspots out there. And again, those of us who are survivors of our public education system and experience, may not have the tech literacy. Like tech literacy is an issue. Regular literacy is an issue for many parents. So just thinking that you can drop off on a porch and suddenly, like we have parents right now that are saying, well, we have that, but we're using our iPhone 7 right now because it's, I don't know about that stuff. So
yeah,
that awareness and that context is, I think, really, really smart and really important.
And if you go to our website, we've got a distance learning launchpad we popped up, Keri, that actually has different resources parents can access. So there's one section on technology of, everything from how to access free Wi-Fi in certain communities to, how do you navigate Google Classroom or Zoom. So I mean, it starts with that relationship and how do we directly help our families with their basic needs, right? If a mom and dad can't put food on the table for their kids, like who are we to say like, hey, they need to complete their classwork, right? And then, I mean, you said it earlier, starts with parent input. So we actually sent a survey yesterday, the social distancing model of how we return, right? And this conversation of kids 6 feet apart and school enrollment or school size during the day, at 50% capacity, the implications of that for our families is massive, right? Our families need care for their kids as they go to work, right? And so getting their input of like, what should this look like, right? We have some options. We need your input and buy-in of like, what do you prefer and why? And so we gave them a few scenarios of, just trying to get a baseline of like, what are they most willing or able to accommodate? We're having parent coffees right now on Zoom on a weekly basis, and we're going to talk with our parents about this. And I'm actually meeting with our parent advisory board tonight. So this is actually great timing, and we're going to talk about this too. So
they're loving you on Zoom, on our Facebook Live, on NPU Live. They're shouting you out and saying,
hey, they're too kind.
Proud Rocketship parents in the comments.
Amen. I love, our parents are amazing. I mean, what they're dealing with right now and their continued commitment. It's really amazing.
Preston, just extraordinary work. And we love that you are really intentional about making sure that parents aren't just at the table, but that seat actually means something. And you're not just box checking here. We can tell, by the reaction we're getting from your parents. It's one thing for you to come on Zoom and talk a good game, but when your parents show up for you and say, oh, go Preston, go, and how proud they are to be Rocketship parents, it's really, it's inspiring to see. And I think
I'm honored to serve them. Honestly, our parents they're amazing. I'm honored to serve them. So I'm honored to be a Rocketship parent. And I appreciate the opportunity, Keri. And and we're not perfect, right? There's stuff that we're learning, we're trying to get better at. But we owe it to our kids, our families to give them 110%. And especially in these times, I think this pandemic has, if anything, just exposed the inequities in our country even more. And I'm really worried for our families and communities. And when we emerge, we've got to be there and really step up and deliver so they can, hold on to their jobs, go do their work, and ensure that their kids are safe and taken care of and learning. So there's a lot for us to figure out, and we're hustling.
And Preston, we're going to figure that out together. I think, people to help focus that conversation and make sure it's not forgotten, in the rush to get back to normalcy or whatever that new normal is going to look like.
Well, and I want to say too, Keri, I'd so appreciate you and your leadership of the National Parents Union. Like, parents need to be represented. They need to be, we need to be reminded that in public schools, the primary people we need to be taking care of is our kids and our parents. They are the primary consumer. They're the ones who need the greatest advocacy and protections. And so I appreciate your courage and your leadership here and pushing on this and really building this national movement, because I think this is how we're going to move this conversation forward, especially in our low-income communities of color, where, if we're really honest about it, public schools have been failing our kids and families for generations. And so getting parent voice and advocacy at the table and driving on this is critical. So I really thank you for your courage and stepping up and pushing on this.
Well, I am working with the fiercest group of parent activists across the nation. I don't do this work alone. So again, just like you, I'm proud to be in service of them and that I get to be their ambassador. But boy, do they ever do a powerful job of speaking up. They are walking and chewing gum, doing the work at the neighborhood level and then leading on the national level. So I'm just proud that these fierce group of mamas and daddies are with us, and they're standing up and doing this important work. So
I'm talking to them regularly. So they are fierce, they are amazing, and they are fierce. I love them.
Preston, thank you so much for joining us from San Jose, California. Preston is the co-founder and CEO of Rocketship Public Schools, and we're so grateful for his leadership.
Thank you, Keri. Take care.
Well, another great edition of NPU Live. Nice to talk to Preston.
That was great.
It was great. What a great conversation. And frankly, again, we can have fancy folks. They can come through here and talk a good game. But when your parents show up for you,
that's right,
in the comments, that's how we know you're legit.
That's the truth.
You can write it on paper, but if you're really doing it, the work is going to show.
That's right.
That's the thing.
Well, everyone out there, thanks for joining us today. I'm going to leave you with a few tasks. 4 to be exact, actually 5.
Ooh,
5. First of all, go, if you haven't already, 6 or 7. I might add some more now too.
Tim's got work for us today. It's a busy Wednesday. Share
the show with anyone you think might be interested is 1. 2, go on prepareforsuccess.org and register. 3, wish Dora Aguilar a happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Dora.
That's right, happy birthday. 4, go and visit Rocketship Schools online. I shared the website onto our Facebook feed there. And I got a 5th one. Give me something.
Make sure you tune in at noon for NPU Live in
That's right.
2 o'clock for Managing Day to Day with Christina Laster, and then hang out with Metasol tonight at 9, live from San Diego, our social emotional checkout. That's right. And when you're done with that, go check out the Black Wall Street Times and let's get them to 2 million views. That's right. 2 million today. Nehemiah, we got you. That's right. All right. Have a nice day, everyone. Have a great day. Bye.